we've been hinting at it for the longest time. The FLSUN S1 Pro has finally made it to us. After a much longer wait than expected, we have now had 5 days with this printer, so I'm ready to share my initial experiences, what worked well, what didn't, and what surprised me about the real thing after watching reviews from others. The Delta Motion system is fascinating, and it is really that fast. Stick around for the first impressions of this regular user with experience across a few other brands already. I'm Gergo, and welcome to Gergo Print 3D, our YouTube channel where we explore 3D printing, laser cutting, and other DIY projects. Like all our previous videos, this one also features translation-ready subtitles and chapter markers for your convenience. Originally, we were expecting the T1 Pro, but FLSUN kindly upgraded us to their flagship model, the S1 Pro. The Pro variants are their newest upgraded models. However, what was supposed to be a 4 or 5 day shipping process turned into a month-long wait due to holiday delays at the shipping company. While it tested our patience, it also gave us plenty of time to research this printer and get excited for its arrival. Thank you, FLSUN, for the opportunity and for encouraging us to share our honest opinion, including both the good and the bad we've experienced, but it is mostly good, as you can probably tell from my excitement. Yes, the 50 kilo, 110 pound package is big, but contrary to other testimonials, it's totally manageable on your own. I had to unbox it in my entrance hall because the box wouldn't fit through the next door. I've seen others remove the top styrofoam insert and flip the box on its side, and that's exactly what I did. There is an included leaflet that shows you this. Thanks to the position of the handles, I was able to orient it properly. They are closer to the top of the device and land the S1 Pro on its feet. That said, don't get this printer if your door is less than 60 centimeters or 24 inches wide. To prepare for its arrival, I ordered these 3 furniture transport wheels from AliExpress, in these ones, which I might attach to the feet of the printer on the long run. In any case, I put links to these in the description below. For now, if you can lift 40 kilos, 90 pounds, you can move it using just the handles. However, lifting it all the way onto a table or workbench definitely requires at least 2 people. For the initial test, it's staying in my study room on the floor. But this can only be a short-term temporary setup since the screen is located at the bottom, requiring you to sit on the floor to use it, a position that quickly becomes awkward. Well, I can ask Levi, my little nephew. He's a bit closer to the ground and is always happy to help. Screen height is one thing, but there is another reason to move this in with my other printers eventually. While the product page on FLSUN3D.com might seem to suggest that this is a particularly quiet printer, it is only quieter than the non-Pro first variant of the S1 was. But we are getting ahead of ourselves. First off, assembly is well documented in the included booklet and really shouldn't take more than 15 minutes for anyone. A few tips though. I recommend securing the handles before attaching the glass doors. I had trouble opening the installed door without the handle. The fit is so snug. And be sure to use the included plastic washers to avoid direct contact between the metal screws and the glass, which could cause cracks. This I avoided. And if using an electric screwdriver, set it on low torque. As we get to the screen, only 2 of the 4 USB Type-C ports on the back are used, and the cables are just long enough to connect them. Expect a bit of difficulty here, but wholly manageable. I also recommend inserting the bottom 2 screws first, but leaving them loose until the top 2 are in place as well, then tightening all 4. It's going to be easier this way. And don't be surprised by the leftover parts. FLSUN seems to be very generous with spares. I'm impressed with the hardware quality. Everything lines up perfectly. And the elegant tinted glass doors close satisfyingly with the help of magnets and foam lining. Materials and finish is top-notch. The filament compartment on the top seems airtight. We'll get back to this in a sec. While the lower door has a millimeter-wide gap along the hinged edge. This gap is likely deliberate though, as the chamber fan will maintain negative pressure inside. Before powering on, I remembered to remove the 3 belt clips and wipe the PI sheet with isopropyl alcohol out of habit. Without these clips, the unlocked print head moves freely and could easily damage itself or the build plate. So it's a good idea to keep the clips for future transport. There's space for them in the handy little toolbox that comes with the printer. The toolbox includes a glue stick, a set of Allen keys, a cheap flush cutter, which broke on first use. You might be luckier, but I've collected a bunch of these over the years. A tube of grease for the linear rails, which are very well lubricated out of the box, by the way. A spare hot end assembly with a 0.4 millimeter nozzle, matching the pre-installed one on the printer, but a spare is still a welcome addition. Nozzle wrenches, an unclogging needle, and a spare PTFE tube, which could be foreshadowing some issues, but we will talk about these later. I also found a small replacement part in the box that wasn't mentioned in the manual. They told me it is a photoelectric end stop used for homing, which could get damaged during shipping. A very thoughtful inclusion. Since then, I've discovered these in the top of the printer. If any of you needed to replace it, please let us know in the comments below. Anyway, I'm sure you're more curious about what happened after flipping the power switch on. Well, everything booted up correctly and quietly. There's no unpleasant idle fan noise here, which was a relief for me. The print head homes at the top of the device, and you can only hear a slight buzzing noise of the stepper motors being engaged. It's a good idea to unlock these if you are not planning to print right away after turning the printer on. But again, we get there a little bit later. For now, I immediately appreciated the large, bright, and responsive touch screen and the ample illumination the LED strips provide from 2 directions. The setup wizard walked me through connecting to Wi-Fi, and thanks to the full QWERTY keyboard on this wide screen, entering the password was a breeze. The user interface is well designed. It only took about a minute to find my way around in it. On the About screen, the printer prompted me to update the firmware from version 1.008 to 1.0013. The update process was smooth, just a 2-minute download followed by a reboot, all automatic. Then it prompted me for another incremental update to 1.0.1.2. This update, which took another 2 minutes, even had the screen prompts in English already. They probably fixed it in this release. And after a second automatic reboot, the printer was finally running the latest firmware. The account page displayed a QR code, I assumed for the phone app, but the link didn't work on Android. However, I managed to download the FLSUN Word app from the Play Store, and the app let me create an account and scan the QR code again, this time from within the app, to connect to the printer. I have to say, this was a remarkably smooth process all the way, and I could confirm that the video feed worked immediately. Although I could have started the initial calibrations using this app on the phone, I chose to use the beautiful device screen instead. Motor calibration seems to test the motion system. This is my first Delta. The way the tool head appears from the top looks like something right out of a sci-fi movie. Very cool. Bed leveling heated the bed, performed probing at multiple points, and then carried out a full 6x6 mesh scan. In the mainsail web interface on my computer, I was thrilled to see a range of just 0.23 millimeters on such a large build plate. Very impressive. And let's take a moment to recognize the fact that this printer runs standard Clipper, providing unhindered access to all settings and macros. This is something to appreciate, especially given the recent controversy around the walled gardens and strict control other printer companies are busy implementing. Just value the freedom we FLSUN users get. And before you ask, there is hope for SSH access as well in the future. For the time being, I was not able to log in though. Back to the last step of the initial setup, the last resonance test took just 3 minutes. It shakes the print head, referred to as effector by FLSUN, and likely registers the input shaper characteristics, which without SSH, I can only show you the derived algorithms and frequencies in printer CFG. Getting ready for the first print, I got distracted by one more thing on the filament screen, a built-in filament dryer. I couldn't resist exploring it. In my excitement, I set the temperature and timer even before loading the actual filament. That's the reason for the airtight top door. The printer comes with half a spool of white high-speed FLSUN PLA intended for the first test prints. Well, loading the filament isn't the easiest process, though I must admit it's still easier than unloading, but we'll get to that in the next video. For now, the filament was loaded and everything was prepared for the first print, or so I thought. I picked the 8-minute 3D Benchy from the beautifully laid out responsive model selector, thinking time-lapse was enabled. It wasn't. I hit start. Even though there is a check mark next to time-lapse, we need to click it to turn it blue. That's when it's actually on. Not the most intuitive. I'll send feedback about this to FLSUN. But before I even had time to blink, the bed reached 65°C, likely thanks to zoned and AC heating, and printing began in earnest. But just as quickly, the part came loose and the printer started spitting spaghetti. Luckily, I was there to cancel this first attempt in time. Noticing that the entire back side of the bed mesh was raised, caught on the alignment frame at the back, I readjusted the PI sheet and repeated the bed leveling. This time, achieving an even better range of 0.19 millimeters. Then, taking the advice from the instruction manual more seriously, something I rarely do with other printers, I applied the included glue to the center of the build plate. I mean, I rarely use glue with PLA on PEI, not that I don't take instructions seriously, but I think the glue was the key. On the second attempt, the print sailed past that previous fail point without a hitch. Well, without a hitch, but not without noise. With the doors open, this printer is louder than any of my other machines. However, the cooling is so efficient that I could close the doors, which significantly reduce the noise levels, bringing them in line with my other printers working with PLA. With the door closed, the S1 Pro is not louder than other high-speed printers, but not quieter either. What's special, however, is that the print completed in the promised 8 minutes, and the quality was outstanding, better than the 15-20 minute 3D benches produced by my other printers. I couldn't find a single thing to complain about, especially with the white color hiding the problems, but this was a very promising start. But I already knew what my next print would be. This time, using the mobile app, I selected the included silencer model, still printed with the provided high-speed PLA. This Christmas tree-shaped muffler took 2 hours to finish. What impressed me most was its ability to handle these steep overhangs without support and with perfectly smooth results, even though this time I kept the printer door closed throughout. And let that wrap up my first impressions now. In the next installment, we'll share how well this silencer works and dive into testing the included FLSUN slicer on the computer to show you all the fun prints we've made with various materials, including regular PLA, high-speed PLA from another brand on relatively large prints, and even silk PLA. While we are still early in testing, almost everything about the S1 Pro feels close to perfect and certainly high quality. My original plan was to leverage this printer's ultra high speed, mostly to help with my prototyping projects, but with the exceptional print quality and versatility it offers, I think it could easily become one of our top used devices. That said, there are still a few quirks to address, like changing filaments, which is far more complicated than it should be. And as much as I'd like to keep it in my office, it's not exactly quieter than my other printers. Or is it with the silencer? Be sure to subscribe to find out. If you're considering getting this printer, use the coupon code FLSUNGP3D to save €100 or $100, free money, valid until the end of January. Expect a follow-up video with more insights in just a few days, still in time before the deadline. Until then, check out our recent 3D printing adventures in this video and one of our favorite laser cutters in this one. And now, we too go print 3D. Thank you for watching another Go Print 3D video all the way to the end.